How in the hell is everybody doing tonight on a busy Wednesday sports night? Man Cave Sports back with another edition of Hungry Like the Wolves. Timberwolves are coming off of a week that sees them, or a past week since we've last gotten together, seeing them went 3-0 with victories over the Suns, Pistons, and Denver Nuggets. A lot of places we can start, but I'll go over a quick recap of each of those games with each of you. Obviously, Brian, the Suns game, we spanked and we pretty much own them now since going, I believe, 3-0 or 0-3 or 0-4 against them in the regular season last year, then sweeping them in the playoffs, swept them this year. So they won 8 straight. And I'll be honest with you, I was at game 82 last season when we played them, and playoff positioning was on the line. And 1 year ago, I'm sure every person in this room here, as well as most Timberwolves fans, did not want to see Phoenix. They seem to be the one team that we dreaded, and now we own them. I mean, literally. But anyways, Devin Booker. I mean, I've always appreciated his game, but man, we destroyed the poor kid. So talk about the Suns ass kicking that commenced last Friday.
Well, I think it's obvious, really, what's happening here. Booker tried to be the boogeyman to us the last couple of years. I mean, it was always coming up kind of big, and we're struggling with it. Then when we're just talking, Mr. Steve and I were just talking about KD being on certain teams. I think KD being on that team and him and Ant are like boys. I don't even know if KD's really out there trying. He seems like he's watching Ant, and I think it works against Booker and his stick. It isn't like an ugly stick like Dylan Brooks or anything like that. But he's always been that bitch to us. Can I say bitch on the show? Well,
Absolutely, it's highly
bitch.
encouraged.
He's always
He
been a
deserves
bitch.
it.
But I think KD being there, he just laughs at it. They just have some fun. I think the whole scare is over with. I don't worry about them a bit.
All right. And not that it probably mattered much, but I believe Bradley Beal was out. Him and all $50 million of salary that the Suns are wasting
He
on him.
makes them worse.
Probably, yeah, exactly. I think it's addition by subtraction, but Bradley Beal, what a horrible, horrible contract that is for what they're getting. All right, so then
Well,
we move to the other night. Was it Sunday night, I believe? The Detroit Pistons came to town and the Timberwolves looked like garbage to start the game. However, things perked up in the second quarter. Razor, talk about what went down in Q2 of the Pistons Timberwolves games, and even the aftermath in the last couple of days since.
yeah, I mean, I want to get everybody's take on this really because the Wolves went full on brawl mode. They looked like they were kind of sleeping on the job to start the game. Dante DiVincenzo started out pretty hot and was bringing the fire, but the Pistons have this. I think they're trying to bring back the bad boys in a sense. Isaiah Stewart and Ron Holland were chirping, they were talking, they were getting really physical, and I think each of them has a short history of starting problems with other teams, especially Isaiah Stewart. And so you could kind of see it brewing. I think Dante and Isaiah got had a little bit of an exchange after a timeout, and then after a hard foul on, well, not really a hard foul. Let me take that back. It wasn't a hard foul, but a foul that Holland had on Nas. Hell broke loose. Dante came to the defense of Nas Reed, and then it looked like the entire coaching staff and all 5 guys for Detroit just came in and tried to pin Nas Reed down and pin Dante against a some innocent fans, and it just got wild and crazy, and it resulted in a lot of ejections, and then a lot of suspensions. I mean, how many Pistons were taken out? I think it was
Three.
Sears, Stewart, and Holland, and it was Nas, DiVincenzo, and then coaches, JB Bickerstaff, go for zone,
And
and
Pierogi.
our guy Prigioni going at it, who's supposed to be a very peaceful man. He was not having it, and he came to his player's defense, and it was crazy. And some poor kid looked kind of like he was a little bit shaken up by the whole thing. But he got a new jersey out of the deal, and apparently Finch, A-Rod players were checking in on him. So it was ugly, but it seemed to light a fire under the team because they looked kind of like they were sleepwalking a little bit. And the game turned. I don't think they turned it around immediately after the brawl, but they eventually did, and they ended up winning by 19 and kind of ran away with it. Detroit was already shorthanded without Cade Cunningham and Tobias Harris, but I think Detroit had been still winning games
Yeah.
without Cade Cunningham.
Ivy's been out for a while too.
Yeah, so I mean, it was wild. I mean, it's been a dramatic week. I'm not even getting into last night's game, but I mean, what did you guys think? I mean, it was the Wolves aren't really like they're a physical team, and they do get into little skirmishes here and there, but that was pretty wild.
Yeah, I'll chime in real quickly with just two things. Isaiah Stewart, obviously, I mean, it was entertaining last year when he went running after LeBron, knowing he was going to get stopped, etc. Guy's definitely got some defensive talent, but he's definitely a hothead. He's instigated things multiple times, and don't get me wrong, in that instance, I don't blame him for being pissed because LeBron cut him open with an elbow. But I mean, he's just out there acting the ass the other day, and I think he's lucky he only got 2 games because at one
Yeah.
point it looked like if you look at the angle that they're showing from the crowd sitting right there, he went down and tried to choke Nas. And
Yep.
ironically, DiVincenzo, one of the smaller guys out there, was shoving all of them around after he got up out of his seat. But one thing I will say, Ron Holland, I know you're only 19. A man's game charges a man's price. And um, from the Man Cave Sports Crew, we would like to send you a year supply of free tissues to dry your tears because the whole NBA world saw you crying like a little bitch at the end of that skirmish. So
Okay, so he was crying. I was wondering
absolutely
about
he was.
that.
Oh
I
yeah.
was like, is that dude teary-eyed? No
Yes,
way.
yes.
Okay. And it was Marcus Sasser. My bad. I said
Yeah.
Sears.
I mean,
Houston.
as Conor McGregor would say, who the fuck is that guy? Anyways,
He's from Houston.
Yep.
what else? Hey, Steve and Brian, what did you guys think about the scuffle against Detroit?
Well, I
Yeah,
think
I
it's.
think
Oh
Go
no,
ahead.
I'm going to go to Mr. Steve. I like being the anchor.
um yeah, we knew the Pistons were going to come in and be physical. That's kind of their brand. That's kind of their shtick. They're trying to do the old bad boys thing, like Razor said. They definitely got under Nas's skin because the foul that happened really wasn't like that big a deal, but Nas is just like he'd had it. I love seeing the fight out of Dante, just going ahead and grabbing some dude and chucking him and be like, nah, we're not going to play this game. He's not afraid to mix it up with them. But yeah, the 19-year-old kid, I'm sorry, when I was working construction at, 17, 18, 19, I'm 20 years old working in the mines and stuff like that. Nobody handed me a tissue because I was tired from hauling, concrete block or something. Dude, you're in a professional arena with a bunch of men. Stand up and, be able to handle it. And there was no punches thrown. I think that was one thing that was, it could have been bad. We could have really been looking at some serious problems if Dante decided just to, when he's sitting there and he just, if he decided just to start clocking people or Nas gets up and starts chucking haymakers or something. But I think that was, it could have been a lot worse than it was as far as the suspensions went. We'll talk about the last night's beauty of a game without Dante and Nas. But yeah, no, I don't mind it. Go ahead, stick up for your guys, stick up for your boys, and let's go. Not an anchor it.
Yeah, I love it. Pass me the baton, baby. I'm telling you, my guy, my coach, who I believe in, Coach Finchy, he said it on the PA show. He said it was already chippy right away. That's what these guys are trying to do. They're trying to be physical. They're trying to push you around. And like Finchy, my guy, Razor's guy, he basically said right away, you knew that something like this was going to happen. You didn't know who was going to snap. You just hope it wasn't Ant, is what he said on the Paul Allen show. So they knew that was going to happen. And, God love them for it, because that's what the Pistons have been doing in the last 15 games, winning ball games. So, and Bickerstaff, we all know JB from the Gophers, his dad, Bernie, that's kind of the way that he rolls. So I'm glad that put a stop to it. But I'm going to say one more thing. You know how I always kind of have a soft spot for the bad guy, the guy in the black hat, Darth Vader, Reggie Jackson, just Dennis Rodman. I love those guys. Isaiah Stewart, Jimmy Buckets, may I even add? Isaiah Stewart, he's earned a spot on the mantle. That's so damn entertaining. And what he did to LeBron, my theory on that LeBron thing last year, Isaiah just checked in and he was boxing him out. And I don't think LeBron realized that it was the loose cannon next to him, and he smacked him. For what he did, man, that's entertaining just to see LeBron go down. And that's for my son.
Yeah. Hey, how about let's see if we can pit Stewart and Draymond in a battle.
Oh, Draymond won't do it.
I just want to add one other thing too to that, though. I know we're going to touch on what happened last night without Dante and without Nas, but one other consequence that came out of the game against Detroit was that Ant got another technical. And so if he doesn't behave himself over the next 6 games and he gets one more T, then he'll be sitting the game. So that was unfortunate. And that did not happen during the scuffle. That happened, I think, later in the game. So that wasn't good.
That's why our guy Finchy said, thank God it wasn't Ant during that. Absolutely.
No doubt. All right, so Mr. Steve, we will let you discuss last night's legendary game. I'll be honest, it may be the second greatest regular season Timberwolves game I can ever remember outside of game 82 back in, was it 17 or 18? I believe 18, when the Wolves had to win to make the playoffs against the Nuggets, a game that also went to overtime. This one last night went to double overtime. And if anybody watching the cast has not watched the game, I'm sure you can still find a replay or just watch the highlights. But just a spectacular game, man. I'll let you kind of break it down, Steve. But man, that was a fun game to watch. I mean, Mr. Steve.
Yeah, with that, I think last night's game was the best and the worst of the Wolves. We started off slow. We had 2 clutch game-winning opportunities that we fumbled the bag on. We could have ended it either in regulation or the first overtime and didn't, just because, bumbling, rumbling, stumbling Mr. Finch was, setting up some wonderful plays coming out of those timeouts and whatnot, while we're all huggy and kissy. What do you like to call it over there with your little shows, duckies and bunnies? Yeah. But I think we saw the best and the worst of the Wolves last night, and we saw that fight. We saw the drive. We saw the Wolves, doing great things without Nas, without Dante, and for 3 quarters without Ant. Ant did pretty good facilitation, but he had 10 points going into the 4th quarter. So I think it was good to see the rest of the team step up. Why not with Minot? He had some very impactful minutes, 12 minutes, hitting threes. He had some good defense. He was very impactful being out there. I was a little bit disappointed TSJ was banged up and couldn't play, but once again, we lived with the onslaught that is Joker, right? Jokic is a beast. There's a reason he's one of basically the top player. I don't care about SGA. Jokic played 53, 54 minutes last night. He was just an Iron Man, and the offense runs through him, not at the free throw line, not at the low block. It runs through him at the 3-point line. So Jokic getting 61 points last night, was ridiculous. And I think a testament to him, but I think that is one thing I'll give Finch credit for, is that he's not afraid to let Jokic get his and let the team play defense around it. He's gonna own Rudy. He owned Sticky Fingers, Julius, especially once Julius had the 5 fouls. I don't know how we got lucky, and because Gobert fouled out before the end of regulation. And we had 5 fouls on Julius. We had 5 fouls on Jada McDaniels. We were real close to being in some real deep trouble, but the Wolves fought, and they took this as I think they took this as a playoff game type of atmosphere. They wanted this one bad. Ant showed up and started drilling threes when we needed it. He came alive in the fourth quarter. He came alive in the overtime periods. I think that we saw some great stuff and we saw some bad stuff on the Wolves. And then at the end, we saw Mr. Russell Westbrook being Russell Westbrook. He could have just dribbled it out, make him foul up, make us play the foul game. He could have dribbled it out. He had to go try to do that layup and just bricked it right up. I'm surprised he didn't get it stuck between the rim and the backboard. But the way that he laid that in there, I thought for sure. But we not only do we get that gift, then he goes and smacks Nikhil with 0.1 seconds left. And it was a clear foul. He drove right through him, hit his arm, and Nikhil being, cold. Just don't go listen to Dan Cole or something over there in the corner. Westbrook got his arm and just went right through Nikhil with his shot. That's a textbook. And it was 0.1 seconds on the clock when it happened. So Nikhil, cold as ice, drilled 2 free throws after double overtime to send it home. And we get to walk away with the W. So I think it was the best of the Wolves. I think at times we saw the worst of the Wolves with the slow start and the terrible, game-winning opportunities that we sticky fingers threw the ball away on one. The other one, I don't know what Ant and Julius were doing in the other opportunity, but it was an amazing game. The whole time I was thinking, man, I should be in the man cave with Mike right now watching this. We'd be losing our minds because that was instead of sitting at my desk working and watching it on the laptop. But amazing game. Love it.
Yeah.
What is your problem up there? What are you doing?
I was just playing a violin for you. It was a sad song.
All right. We'll circle around real quick just to get a couple final thoughts.
So yeah, settle down up there, Flash Dance. You got that? Do you have like the leotard on too? What a feeling! You're gonna do that with your collar there.
Anyways, B Naughty, let's just talk about two Wolves performances last night, 2 players, and then Ramon, I'm gonna ask the same out of you. So Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle.
Jules is Jules. I can tell what the temperature in the room is when it's always sticky fingers. But Jules is Jules, and Rudy's been awfully darn good the last 3-4 games. And then him falling out, we didn't think we had a chance without him. But everybody kind of stepped back up. The one thing that bugs me is, are we talking about Finchy at all?
We'll get around to it. Talk about Rudy and Jules' performance.
Well, Rudy's catching everything. How about that pass from Sticky Fingers to Rudy? Just right there, line drive. I mean, they're doing what they got to do. I mean, Jules, there is a crazy stat, and sometimes, because I watch every game, sometimes I can't figure it out. We're like 17-3 in the last 20 games that Sticky Fingers has played. So something's got to be happening there, and Rudy's been a dog the last 3-4 games, and that's what we need him to be. Razor?
You want me to take the same too?
Yeah, no, I got a separate question for you. I'll just say this in regards to Rudy. And I think Randall had this conversation maybe last week after the Suns game, but said something to the effect of telling Rudy to throw it down anytime he throws it within, a certain footage of the basket. So I think something you've seen from Rudy the last few weeks is him slamming the ball with aggression, as opposed to every now and then he gets his weird Euro step layup, which he hits at about 50% clip. And unfortunately, last night somebody got him the damn ball with a second in the shot clock. We had to see him take a very deep jumper, which I don't even think he hit iron, or he might have just clanked the backboard. But I like to see Rudy's aggression, and he seems like when these scuffles are going on, he's always seems to be somewhere in the middle of them, but he's smart about it. But Ramon, for you. Yeah. We talked about TSJ being out, and I mean, it would have been cool to see him in a game like that last night, or even especially the Detroit game, because I don't think that dude's scared of anybody. But talk about our rookies last night, because or not so much our rookies, because Jalen and Dillingham got in there, but also Josh Minot. So talk about our young players. Let's rephrase the question. Talk about their contributions last night. Jalen, Dillingham, who had a huge steal and
Yep.
dunk, and
Yep.
obviously Josh Minot, who started the season in the rotation, but we haven't been able to find him with a spotlight for quite some time.
I'm so glad you asked me this question because I was just going to go rogue and do a rookie report or a young player report on my own if you hadn't. So thank you for asking me this
Hey,
question.
great minds, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll kind of start with the negative and build my way up. But Jalen Clark played 9 minutes last night, committed 4 fouls, and frankly, it was the first game that I feel like I've watched him play in since he's been getting minutes where I was like, he's playing like a rookie. And in his defense, he was getting baited by one of the greatest players to ever play the game. I think he committed maybe 3 of his 4 fouls, all on Jokic. And so, he didn't have a great game, but I mean, the stakes were high. He's a rookie. I mean, for me to say that this far into the season that that's the first time I felt like, wow, he looked like a rookie tonight is pretty crazy to say about how ready he's been and how well he's played and how mature he has acted when he gets his opportunity. Rob Dillingham, 4 minutes, 2 points, but damn, did he make an impact in those 4 minutes? You touched on it already. He had that steal on Jokic that led to that throwdown on the break, led to a timeout by Denver. He also got caught on a switch. And who did he have to guard? I mean, what is he, 6 feet, a buck 50? I mean, maybe I'm being generous or maybe I'm being accurate. I don't know. But he's going up against, like I said, one of the greatest to ever play the game, way bigger than him, super crafty, super smart, super talented. And he was able to stand his ground just enough for Jokic to waste a few seconds and then throw a pass, and the shot clock ran out on them. So I thought his 4 minutes I mean, he was so mature in those 4 minutes. I mean, there was one moment I think where he started dribbling a little too much and he was dancing, and then I think maybe we committed a shot clock violation a little bit earlier in the game. But he made his 4 minutes count. And Josh Minot, I've been an apologist, I think, or I had been, and I was really excited for him at the beginning of the season when he was that one guy that got like those extra 5 to 6 minutes. And at first it kind of looked good, and then he kind of lost the minutes, and then when he'd get into games, he looked lost. He frankly would just fall asleep on defense consistently. Didn't look like he was handling the demotion with a whole lot of maturity. Didn't look like he was ready to play when he got the chance. But last night, I mean, he came back with a vengeance, and they needed him so badly. And he helped keep them afloat when they were down pretty big. I think he hit 2 corner 3s. He had a massive follow dunk. He had a beautiful cut to the basket that led to that little dunk layup. And I think otherwise played pretty solid defense. I think like Aaron Gordon, he forced Aaron Gordon to do a tough turnaround. He hit the shot, but you're gonna have to live with that
Yeah.
kind of thing. And so to see Minot kind of, for a lack of a better term, kind of come back from the dead was really, really like, it made me feel really good. And to do it in such a big moment, in such an important game, and in such a hostile environment, it was really cool to watch. So good for the young guys. And, so kudos to our young players for being professionals, being ready to go. Kudos to our coaching staff, our developmental staff for helping those guys be ready when called upon because our guys just don't look really, rarely look overwhelmed when they get a chance. I mean, there are moments, but like they just look like they have the minds, they have the work ethics, and then they have the staff behind them to help them get ready for these opportunities. So credit to
Yeah,
them.
and great points. And I was a little nervous going into the game because of the suspensions of Nas and Dante. However, I think everything kind of balanced out once Murray and Porter were deemed out of the game as well. Although I will say this in particular with Murray, we've kind of owned him as of late. So I mean, I don't know that that necessarily swung the balance in our favor per se, but Steve, I'm going to throw two names at you. I'll call this question Rob based because we'll talk about joy and pain of last night's experience. We have a team high, tied for a team high, along with Mr. Minot that Razor just discussed, Nikhil Alexander Walker. Now on the flip side, and he did have a significant clutch shot towards the end there too, but bite, Mike Conley had a rough game last night. Was a team, and I know Mr. Not and that plus minuses and everything, but Mike Conley was a neg 22 last night. So where there's smoke, there's fire, damn it. But Mr. Steve, talk a little bit about, let's start out with the negative because we know you're the negative one of the group, according to these two Yahoos.
Absolutely.
And so talk about Bite's performance, Mike Conley, and then talk about Nikhil, who to me, and I loved after the game when Ant grabbed him, wouldn't even do the interview with TNT until he came over. I mean, Nikhil Alexander Walker won that fucking game for us last night. Mr. Steve.
Yeah, Bite, love the guy, great teammate, great person from everything we've seen. But the offense slowed down when he's out there. They get stagnant. It I don't know what it is, and it's not necessarily him. I think it's that when they I think honestly, it goes back to how Finch calls the sets and calls the plays, the half court offense with Conley out there. They don't run as much. They don't get moving. He had a couple of clutch threes in moments where we needed them late in the game. But I think we're just seeing, that like we've been talking about for a while. Mike is just I don't know if it's just because of father time catching up to him, or if it's how Finch wants the offense to run with Conley out there and how he calls the sets, but it looks slow. It looks stagnant. Guys are standing around, and that's why he had the negative 22, right? The minus 22. So I think Mike is definitely on the downward slide here. If we have Dante, I think he sees maybe 10 minutes, maybe 12. Does Conley if Dante was out there. So it's just a slower offense with him being on the court. And like I said, I don't know, the Finch calling certain sets and he wants certain things to run, but it's just not getting the action. I like if they got Conley at point and they've got Ant, they're running the wing and stuff. I'd prefer to see that, but whatever. You go hug a Finch. Everybody go hug your Finch. See how that goes. On the flip side, Nikhil Alexander Walker, love the guy. He was playing out of his mind, and he's been kind of building towards this. It's like Nikhil's kind of like watching the stock market, where you see it rise up, and you're like, oh man, this is gonna go good, and then and then he tanks for a little bit, and then he's like, oh, Nikhil's doing so good, and then tanks a little bit. I think last night he definitely reached a new peak and a new level. He had 4 threes, 5 threes. He was hitting clutch shots, 5 threes. Yeah, so he was hitting clutch shots. The team, trusted him. Ant even said after the game, like, hey, we just all decided we were going to feed him the ball and we were just going to spot up and let him handle it. I think he showed a lot of maturity, a lot of poise. The moment wasn't too big for him. I think in the past we've seen him get emotionally frustrated or puts too much pressure. Even in the beginning of the season, when he was trying to be point guard, Finch had talked about having to sit him down and talk to him, hey, we don't need you to be this, right? So, I think Nikhil last night showed out amazingly. I think it's the only thing I'm worried about. Did he play himself out of Minnesota? Is he now, depending on the playoffs, going to be too expensive for us to keep home because Sticky Fingers is going to pick up his option, and that's 30 mil that we can't share with Nikhil.
Valid point. We'll save that for the season wrap-up show, hopefully in June sometime, late June. But anyways, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to throw a couple names out here. I got 2 names in particular I'm going to throw out, and I'm going to time you guys here. We're going to try something different here because that's what
fantastic.
We do in Cave Sports. We all kinds of crazy stuff. But how am I going to do this? Give me 1 second because I just came up with it on the fly. You guys each have 45 seconds, man. And if I got to mute you somehow, I don't know how to on here, but damn it, I'll do my best. So, throw a name out. And we'll start with you, Naughton. This should be good.
Oh, I bet. I
All
bet
right, you got 45 seconds. Chris Finch.
Chris Finch, I think, is a misunderstood, like, mad scientist. I think he's a player's coach. I think where he came from, where Gerson got him from the Pelicans in Toronto, I think he's an ultimate player's coach. The one problem, I do have that problem that you all have. It doesn't seem like a running plays at the end of the game. It doesn't seem like he's drawing something up, and it's the same shit that just doesn't seem to happen. But what I think is he's letting them play. I mean, you guys are professionals. You guys are adults. He's letting them go. After that punk, that Chrissy Braun guy started taunting, and right before the fourth quarter, yeah, and I'll tell you, Finchy lets them go, baby, and you leave my Finchy alone.
Ramon. Chris Finch.
Yes, sir. Chris Finch. I mean, I've made this point before. I think he's one of the top two coaches in Wolves history. That might not be saying much, but I think we're lucky to have him. I know that this team doesn't always come with the focus that they need, and so some of that is on him, but they've been the second or third hottest team in the NBA, or were over the course of the March, and that's when it counts. That's when you want to peak. And I know they had some bad losses in that mix, but they also had some big wins. And overall, they have been winning a lot of games. And ever since he got here, that's what's happened. And if you look at our young players, Anthony Edwards, Naz Reid, Jaden McDaniels, even the young players that I talked about earlier, they're growing. And so I'm a Finch guy all the way.
Mr. Steve. Chris
Finch. Good coach, not a great coach. Good coach, not a great coach. He doesn't have what it takes to get us into the finals. Too many times that we've been getting stomped with too long of a run. He won't call timeout. He won't give a yank. We've got too many games this season where he just lets the starters suck in the beginning of the first quarter and get buried in a hole. And he doesn't give them the yank. He doesn't do anything. Well, we got to let them play through it. Well, we're how many games through the season and they're not changing anything. That means you as a coach have to change something. So good coach, not a great coach. I'm more of a Micah Nori guy. Give me Micah Nori all day, every day.
All right, no rebuttals. I won't need the 45 seconds. I'll just say this. Before the playoffs happen, he and Ant need to be on the same page with the double teams and getting out of them, because you can tell by last night's response they weren't. And they still have time to correct that. What, they got 7 games left? 6, 7, whatever it may be. 6, okay. So in Finchy, I trust. I'm kind of in the middle here. I'm not a Finchy apologist like the tinfoil hats here, but I don't I don't think as low of him as you seem to, Steve, for lack of a better term. So, all right, next name, Tim Conley, Mr. Naughton. You are on the clock.
Hey, you can't argue with them. I mean, we hated that Rudy trade. We hated that. Some of us like the cat trade at first, but we hated that. He built the Nuggets into what they are, and they are champions. And you know what? TC, I trust. Let them cook. Let them cook. This isn't like some bullshit, just piece of crap general manager that got the job on opportunity like our football general manager. This is a guy that produces results, and I'm all for him. And please don't go to Washington, D.C.
Yeah, and that Detroit pick's looking pretty good right about now. All right, Brian, you didn't even need the full time. Let me reset the timer. I'm impressed. All right, Mr. Razor, you can go.
TC again?
Yeah, Tim Conley.
I think there's just so many wins that he's had, but I'm going to focus on one of them because it's timely. The Mike Conley with Nickeil Alexander-Walker, supposedly a throw-in in the trade. And then several second-round picks that I think helped them net Leonard Miller, who we don't know what we have there yet, but a prospect. And they have a high second-round pick from Utah this year that's either going to be the first or second pick in the second round. That's worth a lot. Or it's a valued pick, I should say. But Nickeil Alexander-Walker there's been a lot of stories about his career was looking like he might be out of the league. And look at him now. He is an extremely important role player on a very good team, and he's going to get paid, and I'm happy for him.
Mr. Steve, Tim Conley.
Yeah, I like that Tim Conley has got a big set of huevos rancheros on him. He's not afraid to make trades that other people don't think are good. Even yours truly. I'm still not sure. I understand for the long term, we weren't going to be able to keep Cat. I love that we got Dante. I thought that was a great piece. But I really wanted to see this team grow and mature together and run it back one more time with Ant and Cat, taking a run at the finals. But everything else he's done has turned out really well and has been beneficial to the club in multiple ways. Nikhil, the Pistons draft pick, right? That capital, just sticky fingers.
Time up. I'm sure
Yeah.
he is very happy about that.
Yes, you need to mute him.
Yes. All right. And
Hug a Finch.
last one to close out the show, and I'm going to go in reverse order this time because I just have to for this one.
I know what you're going.
As you guys probably saw today, Shams, I think, was the first one to report it. But, Johnny Athletic, all the NBA and specific Timberwolves talking heads discussed how Glenn Taylor will not be appealing the arbitration ruling. I saw tonight even Irvin Magic Johnson was very excited that his friends Mark Loré and Alex Rodriguez were going to become Timberwolves owners. So, like I said all along, the vote's a formality in my opinion. So Glenn Taylor very soon will be bought out, his remaining share of the team, and the owners will ratify that. And for me, and we'll go around the horn and finish with who, but for me, the two greatest things that come out of this are clarity after 3-4 years of just awkwardness, because the minute that A-Rod and Loré got here, I mean, we're on the verge of going to the playoffs for the 4th straight year. They were the ones that wanted Conley. They were the ones that were for the Rudy trade and the improvements at Target Center. The nice room to host people that Glenn, made sure to complain about to his people, his employees at the Strip. But anyways, I digress, as I like to say. But I think the big thing that you will see, there's been hints of this year. You guys may or may not have seen it. I've seen it. I don't know if they're going to wait till the playoffs or what, but I think they're going to bring back what to many fans is the best jersey in Wolves history, the black one with the green trees, the ones that KG used to sport. I'm here for it. I want those jerseys. I want them back for the playoffs specifically. But most importantly, that is going to happen with this transaction, because we know KG don't deal with snake motherfuckers. KG's number 21 will finally be raised to the rafters at Target Center, where only Flip and Malik Sealy lie. When I go to the games, love the Lynx, but the arena looks like the home of the Minnesota Lynx, not the home of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Granted, the Minnesota Timberwolves have been a somewhat of a feudal franchise for 35 plus years, but the little history that they do have has been tarnished by Glenn Taylor's ownership. Anyways, I went over 45 seconds, but damn it, I can do that. So I will go around the horn, and I will start with you this time, Mr. Steve. I'll give you 45 seconds. Glenn Taylor. Go.
Bye. See ya. Glad to see you go. I'm done with it. Too many years of crap. I don't know if Lori and A-Rod are gonna, be able to do the right things or whatnot, but we had too many years of getting hurt, too many years of just incompetence. I said the difference between Taylor and Pollard is intentionally screwing stuff up for the Twins, and I think that Glenn Taylor was just incompetent when it came to running a basketball franchise. So peace out. Have a good life. See you later.
All right. Short, sweet, and to the point. All right, Razor, go ahead.
Well, I have a couple thank yous to Glenn Taylor. First off, thank you, Glenn Taylor, for keeping the Wolves here when Bob Arum and others were trying to buy the team to move them to New Orleans. I appreciate him for that. I appreciate him for empowering Kevin McHale and Flip Saunders to take a chance on Kevin Garnett. That was a historic move at the time. I applaud him for getting out of A-Rod and Laurie's way so that they could hire Tim Conley. He wasn't for it, but he got out of their way, so I give him credit for that. But he also was the lone common denominator for a franchise that for a long time was considered arguably the worst in all of sports. So I will say, as Mr. Steve said, goodbye. It was fun some of the time.
And last, but definitely not least on this subject, be naughty. And I know, man, 45 seconds, let her rip.
All right. I think that my Gleno, my main man, Gleno, just like a powerhouse in the chicken wing industry. He bought the Star and Tribune. He served honorably in the state Senate for 8 years. He was thinking about making a run for governor, and he probably would have made a really good one. This guy saved us from being sold down the river, as my esteemed colleague Razor said. I mean, his wife, Becky, has amazing spaghetti, I hear. And on top of this, all you guys talking about how putrid this guy was about managing a basketball team. He was never the GM. He was always the owner. He always paid people. He even cheated to get Joe fucking Smith here. He paid Kevin Garnett what? I mean, the lack of appreciation is kind of disgusting. That's all I have to say, Michael.
I don't know how anybody's going to survive without his team Christmas dinners and Becky spaghetti, but you know they'll just
legendary.
They'll just
legendary.
They'll just have to do that. So, gentlemen, I appreciate it, man. A lot of good content. Hey, what a crazy week so far. There were the last few days, Sunday and last night's game, man. Brooklyn Nets coming up. The Wolves currently sit tied at the 7th spot, but they're a half game out of the 5th, which Golden State is now. We still got a game against Memphis here in the next couple of weeks too. So
that Brooklyn game is a classic letdown.
Oh yeah, don't even get me started.
All year long. Let's see what they got.
Yeah,
let's see how Finch master motivates the team to not get down into that one, huh? Let's see that how that comes out. You know, we haven't seen it yet this season, but you know, maybe he can do it this time.
Well, we'll have our full crew back. Hopefully, TSJ gets back here soon as well. So it'll be good to see. I think they got the Nets, and then they got Philly on the road. Two teams that are downtrodden and fighting for that Cooper flag lottery. So we'll see what happens. Going to be an exciting last 2 weeks. The Timberwolves are a half game out of 5th, but they're also, I believe, a half game out of the 8th spot. So the next couple of weeks are going to be crazy. I'm watching games tonight. Tonight's games don't have as much significance, although I do know that Denver's playing here right now, and I believe the Clippers play yet tonight as well. I thought they did. Yeah, I think the Clippers play at 9:30 here.
That's tomorrow.
Oh yeah. Nope,
no,
he's
the
right.
Clippers are
They
starting right now,
the
man.
Pelicans.
Yep, against the Pelicans. But
let's go Pels.
Yes, let's go
Sans
Pels. But
Zion.
Be an interesting grind, gentlemen, and it's been real. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for the discussion tonight. Thank you everybody for watching. And this is a wrap for Hungry Like the Wolves. We'll see you next week.